What's up, guys? Today we are talking about self-sabotage and just some overall tough mental health placements in astrology. I'm a little bit sick, but it's all good. Let's get into it. So, first one I want to talk about is 12th house stelliums, right? People who have, especially Mars in the 12th, I've seen it so many times where, 12th house stellium, and let's add a / Neptune hard aspects, especially to the sun. But well, actually, maybe I'll talk about that one later. Actually, so let's just stick with 12th house. So basically, the 12th house is the house of repressed energies, right? So if you have a lot of planets there, it's not bad necessarily, but essentially, what happens is that they were malnourished energies when young. They were weak energies when young. So the mechanism is that, like, imagine that stronger energies in their field, like say at school, were around them. They become repressed energies because those energies that are stronger at the time push them down. It's like the kid. It's like the kid that gets bullied, and then it's like the kid that like has like a natural good singing voice, but gets bullied at school and then shuts down their voice their whole life when really they have a great voice. And that's a lot about like what I see with 12th house people sometimes is like this feeling that they don't deserve something. I've seen a lot of people with this, with different combinations of planets in the 12th house, self-sabotage with career. I can think of one instance where a good female friend of mine had a guy who had a 12th house stellium who completely self-sabotaged their relationship. Like, he was doing crazy. He had everything in the bag, and he just messed it all up for no reason. And it makes you think, like, wow, why do some people just like fear success so much, right? And we could go into the psychology of that, but we're not going to do that right now. And I just have my notes here, so I'm just going to check them. I usually don't look at notes, but growth. So yeah, I think like also it's just important to know that the whole idea of self-sabotage is us becoming our own worst enemy, right? So if you have, you really have to look at what your Saturn is doing, what your Pluto is doing in terms of aspects. So this would probably be the second section. Like, I'm kind of making this one up as I go. And then I have a third one already, yeah. So if you have Saturn in like a hard aspect to your sun, to your moon, and it could also be a quincunx, which is 150 degrees, right? To your Venus, to your Mars. Those are the four that I mainly look at. I mean, you're asking, Jesse, what about ascendant? Well, yeah, ascendant too, if it's conjunct the ascendant, but I guess like on the IC, right? On the IC or on the if it's conjunct with the ascendant, it's opposite the descendant. But really with those planets, and Mercury, yeah, but not, is it really that strong? Like compared to the other ones? I don't think so. It can be, but it's different. It's more mental. So yeah, we can throw Mercury in there too. But like really, like looking at those energies, because sometimes someone will have, let's say, Saturn in hard or Chiron too, excuse me. So just outer planets in general to inner planets. Like, you'll see in a chart how these planets will come together and create this energy where, as a reader, as an astrologer, who I can, where I have like intuition, where I can kind of feel the energy of the chart, I can feel the voice of a father, of a critical father through one of these aspects. I can feel like a very strict and nervous mother, right? And what can happen there is that if, like I was saying with Saturn, let's say squaring the sun, or even squaring, like opposing Mercury, or something like that, it can really hold that person's voice back with the Mercury. It can hold that person's personal development back, because we're trying to move towards our sun. Moon, emotions back. Mars, their sense of power back, and so forth, right? So that can then create, how does it link to self-sabotage? It can create the image and the idea in that person's head that they're not worthy, like the unconscious idea that they are not worthy of whatever or whoever they have, and then they self-sabotage. Okay, that's enough on that. So yeah, I would say yeah, just the idea, like before I switch over, just the idea of being your, I wrote like, people with these types of combinations tend to be their own worst enemies until a certain evolutionary goal is met. I think that's really important. Because like the 12th house, you have to understand, it's not a bad house. It's not a bad house in itself. It is a house that needs to be understood. And I think I'm going to switch up the whole point of this video right now. Because there's just so much to be said about the 12th house. But like the 12th house is essentially a house where you have to understand these energies, and you have to like really, really like be nice to them, right? Because they're parts of you, but they're parts of you that can be very fractured and lost. So by being of service, which is what everyone says, but it's so true. Like a lot of times people with the 12th house energy, because I didn't want to like just like leave someone hanging who may have listened to the first part, right? So I'll make another one after this about the self-sabotage. Like they literally, when they're of service, when they find something, like their lives tend to go in these like cycles, right? These kind of almost toxic cycles, right? And then they find something that makes their soul feel good. Let's say it's like they're a psychologist, or they're helping kids, or whatever the heck, even a creative outlet, right? Like it's not like there's a lot of really like, also 12th house is a very strong house. Like there's a lot, if you look at a lot of very powerful people's charts, they have a lot of 12th house, right? It represents a lot more than just like the occult, the esoteric, or collective unconscious, repressed energies. Like it's probably the house that, if you asked me to make a video about each house, I would make the longest one about the 12th. Yeah, longer than the 8th for sure. And sorry, like I said, I'm a little bit sick, congested. Yeah, so like giving without expecting anything in return is the key. And it's like a 12th house chart has a lot of karma in it, right? So, just sort of finding that answer within, I think is very, very key, right? If you want to think, like have a new metaphor for this, it's almost like, think of very Piscean or very Neptunian people. It's similar, right? This goes into the same kind of box, right? It's like where the whole world might be able to see your strength and your your amazingness, but then if you can't see it, then what good is it, right? That's kind of what I'm talking about with this. So it's a life journey, but it's also a karma where it's like very, very sure this person is meant to be a healer, right? Let me see what else I can add. So yeah, last thing, or maybe not last thing, but like, so they call it the house of self-undoing, right? And what I would say is that, yes, it can be that, as I've said, with self-sabotage, but I can think, I'm thinking of like examples of like people I know, or I can think of people with 12th house stelliums. One person comes to mind, although I never met them directly. It was the son of a client who had like everything in Taurus and 12th, and he would just sit in his room, like, because 12th house people can be very, very reclusive. They can hide, really, really hide from the world. Kind of like the low vibe Pisces energy, just like escapism, right? and just smoke weed and play video games. There's nothing that could get him out of that, right? He's just very, very in this very deep sadness, right? And it doesn't matter what your like rising is, what, you know, it doesn't, at some points in astrology, it doesn't matter what anything is. It's like, if that's what you're doing, that's what you're doing. All right, let's see what else I got here. And then like, you know, like, yeah, so it's just that self-sabotage, that getting stuck, you know, whether it could show up as playing victim, it could show up as, perpetuating. Okay, now I have another person. See, now I'm rolling. Another person comes to mind from my own personal life who had the 12th house moon, and it's almost like she had her moon was 12th house Taurus. I'm trying to remember, square Saturn, square Neptune on different sides, right? So like it was a T-square. That's tough, right? Now this girl had like very difficult, so like, you know, she's doing really good, you know, for her trauma and everything that she has. However, I have noticed that, and she's young, so I'm not calling shots at her or anything like that, but like, and she's not going to watch this, but like, there's a part of her that enjoys the sadness, right? Like I know this as a professional. Like I know this is someone that's seen thousands and thousands of people and analyzed thousands and thousands of people. I don't know what that number is. I just know it's like at least a few thousand. And although 1,000's a lot, like shit. Like you say, it's really easy to say like 1,000, 1,000,000, but then when you think of 1,000 people in a room, you're like, damn, that's 10 times 100. But yeah, I think she liked her own sadness. I think there's a part of her that understood very clearly that she could heal herself, but you know, and she's also very, very spiritual and has that potential, and vegan and loves animals, and you know, doing a lot of really good things for herself to get out of this really shitty position she entered her life in, but then still likes to bask in her own sadness and not give herself the happiness, you know, that she deserves, right? Like very, very difficult. So that's an example, right? And that's only the 12th house moon. You know, this person's also a Pisces, so you know, you do the math. That's a lot of that. You know, you do the math. Like if you don't want to say, like the reason I say that is because 12th house is, every house is linked to a sign. Every sign is linked to a planet, right? So Pisces, 12th house, Neptune. Many will watch this and say, no, they're not the same. Okay, I don't care. You know, I get it. But I also like, yeah. So, yeah, I've just seen people with this who have issues with drugs. Then they find something of deep, deep, deep meaning that pulls them out of it. And then they can become that leader, that inspired leader. But like more than anyone, they need that connection to that wholeness because they are such empathetic beings. And they know, and sometimes it's like when you see them in these depths, it's like, you know that they're meant to be there because they're meant to have that experience to be able to help other people, whether it's through their music, through their work, through this or that, right? So I can think of a number of people, like this one person, this musician I know who his story is very much like that, and he kind of got out of his hole. And then like that was where all the inspiration for his music came from, right? It came from this place of knowing what it's like to be that kid who's sitting depressed in the room and not leaving, you know, just stuck in his own thoughts and his own emotions and his own broken dreams, you know, that kind of energy. And it's beautiful, the music, you know? So it's like, yeah, that's kind of what I would say is there. Let's see what else I got. I know something, like every time I end a video, like something will come. So I know there's something still there. So it's like, yeah, people will say like, oh, but these people are just fucking lazy. They're just lazy, blah, 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 blah. No, you don't know what someone's going through. You know, you don't know the weight of the world, especially since Neptune rules dreams. Like you don't know like a Neptune. I'm a Pisces, right? So like you don't know the like how much like, and I've been going through a lot of Neptune transits the last few years, a lot. Now, like literally, like I'm not gonna get into it, but it's been nonstop. So it's like I should know, right? Even though like natally I only have my sun and my Mercury there, and no 12th house besides whole sign. But the point is that like it's really easy to look at someone going through something like that and be like, oh, they're just lazy, they're just they're just playing victim. No, it's not always that easy to say. Like maybe some of them could use more effort, but yeah, like it's kind of like the mystic or the drug addict, right? But really it's like about connecting to the subconscious and bringing that to finding a way to connect the subconscious and that dream life with the real life. So anyways, in conclusion, how does that lead to self-sabotage? I think it all makes sense, right? Until we have come to terms with ourselves and what we think we deserve as a 12th house Neptunian person, it's very difficult for us to not run away. And the psychology of self-sabotage is very simple, right? It's like, in my mind, if every time, it's like fear of success, right? It's like if every time that something good has started to happen, I get anxious, I get a fear that it's gonna go away, because maybe in my past that same thing happened, maybe with my parents, maybe with this and that, then I'm going to be more comfortable in a state of, and I'll do a whole video on the self-sabotage, right? But like with 12th house, yeah, I think that like that's kind of more how it works, right? So anyways, this video, I'll make an introduction to this because I know it was a little bit misleading because I had a different, this is just how I am, guys. I'm a mutable guy. I'm a Pisces sun, Sag moon. So like, if like I could literally start recording, and then if I like a different direction, I'm going to go that direction. So I'll make an intro to this. It's a little bit different, but this is really fun. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. You guys, are you a Neptunian? Do you have anything, even anything that's like self-sabotaging in any way? I'd love to know in the comments, guys. Please keep liking my stuff. Keep commenting on my stuff. Even if you don't watch it, just like leave a comment. I'm trying to like really do this. I'm very bad at consistency. Like this is like very hard for me to like, and my editor, we're like doing this. It might seem easy, like it's not. I'm used to just like hitting record, boom, on Instagram. Which if you haven't already, if you're finding me here, right here will be, my editor will put it, my Instagram, nearly 2,000 posts. I'm getting there. I'm like in 1953 or something like that. So that's where everything happens. Here is like, this is like where all the deep stuff is happening. So anyways, thank you so much, guys. Love you guys. Have a great, great day. And I'm about to make another one back to back, baby. All right. Ciao.